Hello again, everybody. Last month here on NCTV, we debuted our brand new hunting and fishing segment that we're calling North Central Outdoors. On this month's episode, T.W.R.A. Officer Jim Dooley focuses on hunting safety while in the woods.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate the opportunity to be back with the people here in the NCTC viewing area and talking about some upcoming hunting activities. Last time we spoke, we were discussing squirrel hunting and Canada goose hunting and wood duck hunting, and probably everybody's got their fill of that. And now the big attention getter is becoming the desire to go deer hunting. Deer hunting opened up the 1st of September in Kentucky, so some people have already begun the process, but here in Tennessee, the season will open up the 24th of this month. It has a constant or permanent opening date. It's always the 4th Saturday in September for archery season. So if people want to get their calendar for next year, just look at a 2017 calendar and look at the 4th Saturday in September, and that will be when archery season will start. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have already begun the process of putting out cameras and getting ideas of the deer that are coming and that type of thing, which is fine. There's not any problem with that. A little difference between Kentucky hunting and Tennessee hunting is that in Kentucky, you're allowed to bait. You can legally bait, legally harvest deer over bait in Kentucky. Well, in Tennessee, you cannot do that. It's not a problem feeding deer in Tennessee, but it is against the law to hunt deer over a food source, bait. So our regulations state that all the food, all the bait has got to be gone 10 days prior to when you hunt over it. You know, so if you've got bait out now, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait before you can legally hunt over it in Tennessee. But make sure all your bait is gone and then start counting 10 days, and that's when you can legally hunt over it in Tennessee. Just a little bit about Tennessee deer. Tennessee estimates their deer herd at about 600,000 deer, and every year it varies some, but about every year our deer harvest is around 160,000. I think last year in the 2015-2016 season, it was about 167,000, which is pretty good. Annually in the state of Tennessee, we harvest big game animals, not just deer, but turkeys and bear included. About 250,000 animals are harvested. But so you can kind of figure out the deer make up the bulk of the big game harvest here in this state. In Macon County, the harvest last year was a little over 1,000. About 1,100 deer were harvested, which is not a whole lot. But the interesting thing that I got when I looked at the big game harvest report, which if you go to our website, you can find the 2015-2016 big game harvest report, harvest summary rather, and in that you can look at the turkey and the deer and the bear, not only in Macon County, but any other place, any other county, WMA, Wildlife Management Area in Tennessee. But while I was looking at that, they had this summary of information that had been collected through check station data. And they looked at, they kind of ranked the counties that had harvested 9-point or better bucks in their harvest, and they had them. And to my surprise, Macon County had 88 deer last year that were 9 points or better, which is pretty good. And when you looked at all 95 states, or excuse me, all 95 counties in this state, it was just about in the middle. I mean, looking around us, Trousdale County only had 47. Jackson County had a little bit more, about 116. Clay County, I think, had in the 60s. So we're pretty representative, and I want to encourage the deer hunters to keep on doing what you're doing. I hear stories a lot about how people are kind of changing and they're utilizing the liberal doe limits, killing more does, and kind of letting the smaller bucks pass. And over time, the deer hunters in this county have really made a difference in the age structure. Ideally, we want to get to where it's kind of a theoretical thing. It probably won't ever happen in our county or in our state, but we try to, ideally they say, to get the buck doe harvest to 1-to-1. That's when it's ideal. So the percentage of the antler deer that are in our harvest is going down, and the percentage of does and antlerless deer in our harvest is kind of going up. So I mean, you know, it's kind of developing into a really good deer herd. As everybody knows, archery season is probably one of those times where people are in the woods very, very early, and probably more so than any other form of hunting that we have, people are going to access and utilize elevated stands. They're going to get in, they're going to get off the ground and shoot deer, which is fine. It's a really, really good advantage. You know, the deer can't see you, they can't smell you. You have a whole lot wider view to see. I mean, you know, it's just a lot of advantages for the hunter to do that. But the big detractor in all that is, you know, if you go up 20, 30 feet in a tree and you fall, you know, the law of gravity is going to be involved. And they say that if you fall from 10 to 20, 30 feet or something like that, that when you fall out of the tree, you hit the ground with about the same force as being, you know, you're going like 25 miles an hour. I think, remembering some old physics, I think you fall at 9.8 feet per second squared. You know, I mean, it's quite a shock. So with that said, everybody that climbs up into a tree needs to take keep in mind some basic tree stand safety, okay? Now, in Macon County, the property that we hunt is all private. There's not any public land in Macon County. So, number one, when you get permission to hunt on somebody's property, you need to ask them if you can put up your tree stand. You need to ask them before you go nailing wood and 10-penny nails or whatever size nails in people's white oak trees or what other kind of tree, because when you do that, if you do that, it has a tendency to destroy the commercial value of that tree. People traditionally have placed their stands around food sources, and which are oak trees, white oaks and red oaks, and those also are the trees that have a lot of commercial value. So if someone gives you the permission to hunt, it doesn't mean that he's giving you permission to throw up permanent tree stands in his woodlot. Always ask permission. If someone gives you permission to put a permanent tree stand on their property, before you access it, you need to check it. The winds blow, the tree grows, the nails move, it gets loose, the wood rots. You need to check them before you get up in them and make sure it's sturdy. And just be very, very careful with that. That's kind of an exception. Most people this year that bow hunt will utilize a artificial stand. They'll be in three types. There'll be a climbing type stand, there'll be a non-climbing type stand, or there'll be a ladder stand. In all those stands, whether it's permanent, climbing, non-climbing, or ladder stand, everybody needs to put on themselves and wear a full body harness and utilize a fall restraint device. It's kind of like a lineman's harness that they use when they work on the telephone poles. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at any sporting goods store. But you need to use one, and every time you're in a tree, use it. Now, the tree stand, there is a Manufacturers Association. It's called the T.W.R.A. Tree Stand Manufacturers Association, and that approves. It's kind of like the oversight group for tree stands and tree stand safety, and get you a stand that meet those standards, so that you'll be sure that it's a good one. A lot of those tree stands that you'll buy, they'll come equipped with a fall restraint device, but you need to get it, you need to wear it, you need to practice with your stand, wearing your harness before the season. You know, it's not a good idea to get it all out of the box, go to the woods at 4 o'clock in the morning and find a tree and just go through the process there. You need to practice at home, on a telephone pole, on a tree in the backyard. Practice with somebody to be there if you've never done it before. Practice going up and coming down, and you need to really get the hang of it. You need to make sure that all those bolts and screws and all those parts on that tree stand are good before you get out into the field. Also, when you utilize a tree stand, always make sure that you have a haul line. You don't ever carry your equipment up into the tree stand with you. You always unload your gun. If you're concerned about something getting in the barrel of your gun, take out your bandana, put it around the barrel to protect it from getting stuff in it. Always attach it from the butt of the gun. Go up into the stand, make sure you're secure and set in the stand with the tether on you, and then you pull your equipment up to you. You don't ever climb even a ladder stand with your equipment on your back or in your hand. You need to make sure that you're focused when you're climbing on safety. And like I say, always make sure when you're going up or going down, always make sure that you have that fall restraint device attached to the tree. Also, in this day and time, you need to be aware of the fact that if you're under the supervision of a doctor, let's say hypothetically you have a situation where you've been prescribed by a doctor some pretty stout medication for back pain or muscle relaxers and all those type of things that we from time to time have to deal with. If you are prescribed that real hard medication, it may be a good idea not to hunt out of a tree. You got about a 4-foot square area that you're standing on, and if you get drowsy or you get sleepy, which a lot of that medication makes you, you could fall. Also, before you go up a tree, it would be a good idea, as part of your plan, to always, if you can't be with somebody, I've always learned that it's a whole lot more enjoyable if I hunt with somebody. And with your bow hunting, it's good, you could be within reasonable distance of another hunter. That would be a good idea. If you can't do that or don't want to do that, I would always make sure that I've got some type of emergency signaling device in my pocket. I would preferably carry it in my breast pocket, not somewhere where I couldn't readily get to it. I would make sure that my cell phone was charged up. If you're a younger hunter just starting out, always notify, always let everybody, your parent, your guardian, always let them know where you're going to be and when you plan on coming back, so that there's not a problem. Also, of course, as this hunting season progresses, and it really does, deer season is really by far the biggest attractor to it. People have got, like I say, cameras out, and they've been taking pictures probably for a month, and they may have been feeding deer, but don't hunt over bait. But when you're out and you locate your stand, you find travel routes, you find where the deer are using, later on when our acorn crop starts falling, you're really going to see a lot of activity where the deer are eating acorns, and that'll probably be somewhere close to that where they're coming into it or out of it will be where you'll locate your stand or put up your stand. Keep in mind when you put up your stand, whether it's a ladder stand, a climbing stand, or a non-climbing stand, always be mindful look at the base of the tree where make sure that that you're not putting it where there's a lot of roots and stobs and a lot of obstructions, logs and stuff at the base of your tree. Try to, in your mind, make preparation for the worst case scenario. If you were to happen to fall, you don't want to fall on things underneath your tree stand. For more information regarding tree stand safety, go to www.huntercourse.com. And remember, hunting respectfully and safely is no accident.